Tuesday. Well, it's a gorgeous day again, although I have put, you know, the purple dress I had on yesterday, I have put that on the line, but I've got my eye open because I've got an awful feeling it's going to thunder and lightning again. I have to hand wash that dress because the colour runs out of it, yeah. Oh, by the way, oh gosh, I've forgotten. Oh gosh, you know, brain dead. The cardigan I had on yesterday, a lady put in the comments, if you look at the last video, look in the comments, a lady kindly said it was a cardigan for, is it Luna Lovegrove? You know, that purple one I had on. I knew it was somebody from Harry Potter. So, sorry, I can't say thank you to you. I will say thank you later, but I can't mention your name because I've forgotten it. Oh, I'm terrible. As for what I'm wearing, I tried to remember what it was because I knew somebody would ask me for the pattern. I looked all through the Ravelry on my leaflets, patterns, books. Can't find it. I looked on my projects, didn't put it on there. I went back to my trusty Facebook page, the Urban, well, not the Urban Gypsy, just Urban Gypsy Crochet. Looked through all the photographs of everything I'd put on there. Not on there. It's either a booklet, maybe by Serdar, or I had a habit of buying some patterns by Katia, that's Katia. They were not always in English, but you know, if you are a crochet, you can sort of understand if they've got a chart, you know, what they're going on about. So I'm not much help. So if anybody out there knows which pattern I am wearing, can you let me know? It could be in the huge box of patterns I have in my shisha. But as I told you before, I need to spend probably about a week sorting them out. I've got a great big plastic tub like that, just full, all just rammed in. So when anybody asks me, oh, which pattern did you use? I don't really feel like going through them all, you know, trying to find the exact pattern. So I troll through Etsy because, you know, Etsy has every pattern known to man on it. I did 34 pages of Etsy and couldn't find it, which is strange, which makes me wonder if it was, you know, a Katia pattern that was in French or something. But I've sort of loosely translated from charts. I don't know, I really don't know. My first thought was Serdar because they did some gorgeous booklets with cotton. That was my first thought. But no, can't find them. They are in my collection somewhere. Anyway, it's beautiful. I haven't worn it for a long, long time because when I made it, it was actually a bit too snug. But, you know, I really liked it. I really liked the pattern and I thought, you know, I'm not going to part with that even though it was a bit small. Anyway, I tried it on today and guess what, it fits. It's not very often I can actually wear something without sleeves because it's not usually that warm, yeah. But today it's a beautifully hot day. Yeah. What have I been doing all day? Just messing about, really. I should have been doing my crochet. I've not done that. Should have been doing a million other things, not done that. I have done my roots. Because I looked at the video yesterday and thought, ooh, Janet, you've got dark, dark roots. I am Snow White at the sides. Why won't the rest of my hair go like that? No, the rest of my hair is dark, really dark, right across there. And I know some people who are, you know, celebs and that have dark roots with blonde hair and look fantastic. I don't. I just look like a neglectful lady who can't be bothered doing her roots, yeah. So I'm vain enough, still vain enough to do the roots, yeah. Still. So I don't know what I'm going to chatter to you about, yeah. There was one thing that caught my eye today on Facebook. One of my friends had put it on. It's one of these museums. Oh gosh, I can't remember. Well, I've put it on my Facebook. And they've opened up like a model or a whatever of a 1950s council house. It's all decorated out as in the style of the 1950s. And that reminds me of when I was a youngster. they built the first council houses in Royton, where I used to live. And you could go and have a look. Not that you could put your name down for one, because it was destined for people who were living in slum accommodation. But we went to have a look, and I can remember being maybe 5 or 6 years old. And we lived in a tiny little 2 up, 2 down house. No bathroom at the time. Just a toilet out the back. Outhouses, whatever you want to call it, out the back. And it was small. You know, it was in a terrace and it was small. But everybody else lived in those kind of houses, so we weren't on our own. But we went, Mum, Dad and I, went to see these new council houses. And I was fascinated as a child because the rooms were so large. They were larger, like them, you know, about twice as large as our lounge and our kitchen. And they had a bathroom. And I was absolutely fascinated as a child, you know. So it was Beamish, by the way, Beamish Museum, if you're living in the UK. I've just remembered the name of the museum where they've got this copy of a 1950s house. But I can remember thinking, oh my goodness me, when they went up the stairs, you know, the bedrooms were big. And I think there was 3 bedrooms. There were 3 bedrooms and the bathroom upstairs. And I remember being absolutely fascinated, thinking, my goodness, they must be awfully rich to live in a house like this. Not, you know, well, knowing it was council accommodation, and I think you would call it, I don't know what you call it in America. It's where they put people whose houses have been pulled down because they're in such a bad state. We call them slums in the UK. You know, and they were really dropping to bits, these houses, so they were being flattened, and they had to put the people somewhere else. But it was before the days, thankfully, of sky rises. I mean, after that, I think it was the 60s or the 70s, they built these sky rises, which are not suitable for anybody with a family, because you're stuck up on the umpteenth floor. I mean, they're not as high as the ones that are in other countries. You know, maybe 12 floors high, but it's still not suitable, you know, for anyone with small children, because you'd have to take them all the way downstairs, in the lift if it was working, all the way down. You know, and there was nowhere for them to play. You know, there was no gardens or anything like that. But I suppose it was better than living in, you know, somewhere that was condemned, you know, it was damp and awful and, you know, no sanitation to speak of, you know. I suppose they were better. But thankfully I think these days, you know, since that terrible fire, you know, in London, you know, in the high-rise, that was awful, you know. It sort of highlighted that maybe, you know, these high-rise flats are not the place for anybody to be. I mean, they're still building them. They're building them in Manchester. They're still building them. Thankfully, there's not many around here. There are, like apartments, flats, or whatever you want to call them, but there's probably about 3 or 4 stories high. That's about it around here. But still, I would have hated to have brought up a family, you know, without a garden or something. We were talking about this the other day, you know. I was talking with another friend about people who have gardens and just don't do anything with them. My next door neighbour, my ex-next door neighbour, I should say. Oh, God, her back garden. It was just grass up to here. Full of all sorts, you know, shopping trolleys, old bikes, mattresses, everything. I complained to the council, I complained to the environmental health. I even had the man down, but no avail. The landlord used to cross the road to avoid me because he knew what I was going to say. But I mean, he was still getting his rent, so he didn't care, you know. It's awful living next door to someone who doesn't care. I mean, I've known plenty of people who live in rented accommodation, but they have pride. You know, they don't let the house fall to bits, you know. If something happens, you know, like a fence panel, a piece of it blows down, they'll put it back, you know. Or at least they'll get in touch with the landlord and ask him to put it back, you know. But other people, oh, it's not my problem, it's not mine, the landlord should see to that, and they just let it drop down. I mean, my friend, I can remember, she had 3 boisterous boys, and they were always breaking windows in her, rented accommodation. But she used to go and get a piece of glass, and put it back in the window. She had little windows, with like crossbars across, just small windows, and the boys were always putting the football through. I mean, the glazier at the top of the street actually knew what size she was coming in for. Another piece of glass. Yep. So she was a dab hand with the putter, putting the glass in. And one of her neighbours said, "Why do you do that? Why don't you complain to the landlord?" And she said, "Oh, it could take him weeks to come round. And I'm not, with a piece of cardboard or a piece of wood in my window, front window, for all that length of time. She said, it's only a few pence, few pounds, to just get a piece of glass and put it back in myself." Yeah. And it was the same with that. I mean, a garden gate came off its hinges. So she got one of the neighbours to come and screw it back on the hinges again. And again, the same neighbour. "Oh, I wouldn't have done that. I'd have got the council to come and do that." The same neighbour, her gate fell off. And it was on the floor for about a good 2.5 years because the council never came and put it back. But for want of a screw, which she could have done herself, put the screw back in, the hinge, and gate would have been working again. But I can remember when I was a kid, when people who had lived in slum accommodation and got given a council house, they were so proud of it. And they kept it in tip-top condition, and they kept the lawn, the flowers nice at the front. Oh, I have got a seagull pecking on the roof. I can hear it going tick, 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 tick. They're so noisy around here. Sometimes they sound like babies crying, sometimes they sound like a cat crying. They don't half make a noise, Hey, there was one up there. Anyway, I was saying that some people, I mean, if I lived in rented accommodation, I would have a pride, in keeping it. I mean, obviously there's certain things you can't do. You can't start changing the front door, you can't change the colour without asking, permission from your landlord or something. But I mean, the basic things you could do, if a screw falls off or, your letterbox falls off, there's certain things you can do yourself, isn't there? Which, is what I call pride in where you live. Yeah. But so many people, sadly. I mean, when I first moved here, I remember going up a street, I won't mention it, and I hadn't been here 2 minutes, and I had to go up this street. And this garden was full of old bits of cars, old bits of everything and all sorts. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness. We used to have a comedy series here called Keeping Up Appearances. And the lady of the house, Mrs. Bouquet, she used to have a sister and a brother-in-law called Onslow and Daisy. And they lived in this really scruffy place with all bits of cars and bits of all sorts in the front garden. So I remember walking up this street thinking, oh my goodness me, Onslow and Daisy must live around here. Anyway, thankfully as time's gone by, I don't know whether the council's made them tidy it up or their landlord's made them tidy it up or they've moved. But there is one house that has all broken bits of toys. It's just, it looks like a playground that a tornado's gone through. Yeah. There is one house like that. And I just can't understand it. The toys are broken, just put them up, take them down to the council dump or whatever you want to call it, yeah? If they are not broken, put them upright and let the children play. But it just looks like a whirlwind or a tornado's just got all these toys in them like that and thrown them in the garden. And the other day I walked past and her and her friend were sitting on a table and 2 chairs in the middle of all this carnage, drinking wine. Middle of the afternoon, drinking wine. And I thought, don't say anything. My son calls me a snob. He says I'm a bitch. I shouldn't say things like that. But it was just the way I'd been brought up was different than the way they've been brought up. If you want to know what I'm wearing today, I'm wearing a skirt that's got embroidery on it. You can see it. I'll hold it up a bit. I won't let you see my legs, but I'll hold the skirt up. It's a long skirt. full of embroidery and everything. And this is the bottom of the top, if you know what I mean. That blinking thing's still going there. Whatever it is, seagull, bird, whatever. Or actually, it may be, we've got those awful slatted blinds, you know, the ones that look like dentist waiting rooms. We've got those at the top end. There. They might be flapping. Oh. You know, when they were choosing them, I thought, oh, please, not white, white slatted blinds. I'm sorry if you've got them, but I don't like them in a domestic situation. I don't know why. I just don't. It's because everywhere I used to go to, like the dentists and the doctors and everywhere, always had them. So to me, it reminds me of places I don't like visiting, like the dentist and stuff. Yeah. Oh dear. I mean, the hospital, I was in and out, really. Wasn't in there 2 minutes. You know. It was all the usual. I've got a student with me. Do you mind if they're sitting with me? I thought, well, yeah. They're taking me a CPAP machine. It's not as if I'm, you know, having anything personal done to me. Although that's happened to me. I mean, I had a gynecological problem, which I won't go into, but when I many years ago, and I had to keep going down to North Manchester General, which is a teaching hospital. And one day, you know, I'm laying there, you know, in the prone position, let's just say, you ladies know what I mean. And this doctor said to me, oh, do you mind if the students have a look? You know, sit in. So I thought it'd be one student, 2 students. No, a whole troop of them come walking in. And I'm like, oh my goodness me, is this a matinee or what? You know. And you can't say anything when you've already said, oh yeah, don't mind. You know. I was thinking 1 or 2 students, not about 12 of them come walking in. You know, mixed sexes, you know what I mean? And I'm there supine, you know, without, yeah, well, legs akimbo, let's just say. So I thought, oh dearie me. Hopefully they wouldn't have looked at my face, hopefully they wouldn't recognise me. I know they have to learn and they have to practice on somebody, but I always seem to be the guinea pig whenever I go anywhere. Oh, do you mind if one of the students sits in? Oh, do you mind? I must look like I'm benevolent, like I'm not one that will say, no, I don't want those students. No, don't let them near me. Of course, you're very polite. You go, no, I don't mind, you know. Troop comes walking in. It's water, by the way, not gin or vodka, just water. I did open one of those little juices that was meant for the kids the other day, them little things, you know, like that. It's supposed to be orange, I don't know what it was, but it was. I thought, gosh, you're expecting a kiddie to drink this. It was probably healthy. No sugar, no whatnot, no preservatives, no thingamajiggles, but it didn't taste of orange. It was supposed to be orange. It tasted more like pineapple. I need to pour it away because there's no way I'm finishing it. I was just thirsty. I was looking around. I thought, oh, and my daughter-in-law must have got them for the kids. They're little tiny little juice bottles with a top that pulls up and you can suck it, you know, little. Not nice at all. Anyway, I'm supposed to be doing something. The dog's been for a long, long walk, so this is why they're nowhere around. They're both fast asleep. Well, the little one's fast asleep, but of course she's Miss Farty Pants, yes. So it's not been very nice. It's very aromatic in there. Still, fine. These are the things that we have to put up with when we have a French bulldog. So hopefully my dress will at least blow a bit dry because I had to hand wash it. I do hang it on a hanger and put it into the conservatory, but my daughter-in-law doesn't like that, you know. I don't know why. She just doesn't like my washing being in the conservatory at all, but where am I supposed to dry it? I don't know. You know, I'm trying not to use the dryer. I'm trying to conserve on energy. I'm trying to keep our bills down. So it's either outdoors or it's in the conservatory on a dryer, on an area, you know. But I don't think my daughter-in-law likes it when I do that, but what am I supposed to do? I live here too. My son will say, you live there, you live here, you know, it's your house as much as ours. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know, sometimes it doesn't feel like it. Yeah. I still haven't been back in the she shed. Wish I could call it a yarn van or something. It doesn't sound nice, does it, saying she shed? It sounds like an old bike shed in the garden, doesn't it? It's very nice. I paid a lot for it because I got it one of those where the wood's specially treated against damp and mildew and thingy-majiggles, you know. It's not just an ordinary wooden shed. I paid a lot more for it, just so that my yarn and my garments and everything would be safe. You know, no insects, crawlies, moth grooves and that. You know, people said things to me when I had it like, oh, don't you get moths and spiders and God knows what, mice? And I'm like, no. No, don't get them in there. I did see one spider. I mean, in 2.5 years, one spider is not too bad, is it? That's all I've ever seen, one spider. I think it was on one of my videos. It was happily crawling across everything. I didn't kill it. Although I am a little bit with spiders. I'm not phobic, but I just don't care for them. I think it's the quickness, you know, when they go zoop and they run, you know, I think that's what scares me. It's the same with mice, you know, we did have a mouse here at one stage. Thankfully, it's gone, and I haven't seen any trace of any more mice. But it scared the living daylights out of me because it was only about that big, poor little thing. It was only a teeny little mouse. It wasn't a big funking thing. But it was the way it ran, you know, it would just, and it was always me that saw it. And I'm like, oh, get rid of it, get rid of it. And Arian's going, it's more scared of you than you are of it, you know. And I'm like, no, I am scared of it. That little thing is probably just running away thinking, oh, I better get out of the way. There's a big giant woman there. But to say that it was more scared of me than I was of it was, no. No, I don't like mice. My mum used to come out in a rash when she saw a mouse. I mean, at one of our shops, they were pulling a great big cotton mill down at the back of us. And of course, it must have been overrun with, because it had been empty for such a long time. It must have been overrun with mice. And when they pulled it down, the mice just scattered and went into all the local houses about, and we got our share. And oh, my mum used to be terrified of the things. She had this, what she called a mouse rash. She used to come out in a big rash. It was nerves or whatever, I don't know. And my dad was a dab hand with a cricket bat. Yeah, he used to have to whack these things out of existence, you know, because we had a little dog and a cat at the time, so we didn't want to put poison down or traps down or anything like that. So my dad used to put them out their misery with one thwack. I'm sure conservative people would be saying, oh, you should trap them and release them. But there were so many of them, you know. At the time, I remember thinking, oh my God, I hope they can't climb stairs. I used to be in my bedroom saying, Dad, can they climb stairs? And he's like, no, no. I mean, I've since found out they can get everywhere, but at the time, to keep me, you know, calm, he would say, no, 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 they can't climb stairs. You're fine in your bedroom, they can't climb the stairs. Yeah, right. I must admit I never saw any though, thanks to my dad and his vigilance and his cricket bat. Oh, but my mum, she wouldn't have the back door open even when it was a heat wave. She'd like, no, shut the door. Just open the windows. They can't get up there and climb through the window. Eventually they must have all dispersed. Or people, you know, got rid of them. But I can always remember that. This cotton mill being pulled down. There was lots and lots of cotton mills where I lived at one stage. I mean, Oldham had the most cotton mills there anywhere, I think, at one stage. But then, of course, Indian cotton or whatever it was, Pakistani cotton, they took it over and all the mills just died, closed up. A lot of them got taken over, used for other industries, you know, people would do them, but eventually they all got pulled down. Most of them. There's probably not even half a dozen left out of all the ones that are 30 odd or whatever they used to be. Yeah. Going back to my top, while I was looking through it, it did come to my notice like that when I went on my page, Urban Gypsy Crochet. It's a Facebook page, Urban Gypsy Crochet. And I looked at photos. I was amazed. Hundreds of these photos. And I'm like, did I really make that? Did I make that? So if you're nosy and you like to look at what I've made in the past, go and have a look. Yeah, go and have a look on there. Because I stopped putting things on Ravelry. I think I explained to you before, when I used to put things on Ravelry, I used to get catty comments, you know, like, oh, that's very nice, but you've used icky acrylic. Yeah, like you can all afford to use hand-dyed wool, yeah. Or merino. It would have been so much nicer in merino. Yes, it would. You're going to buy it for me. Yeah, so I stopped using Ravelry to put my things on. Because, you know, hardly anybody said, oh, beautiful, oh, lovely. Most people were, oh, you've done it in acrylic, oh. Or, can I have a free copy of the pattern? And it was always like, I'm on a budget, I can't afford to buy that book, I can't afford to buy that pattern. And I'm like, I'm on a budget. I've had to buy the pattern, I've had to buy it, I'm sorry, but it's against the law for me to photocopy it, I'm sorry, and I'm not sending you for free. So you get these abuse then, you know, oh, be like that then. But, you know, I'm sad if you can't afford the patterns. I'm sad for you, but get around it. Go on YouTube, find a free one. Find one that looks very much like it. But don't ask me to photocopy and send you a copy when it's out of a book that's cost me £16 and it's copyrighted, you know, because I won't do it, yeah. Maybe people think I'm mean, but I'm sorry, but you know, that designer is making her livelihood out of selling those books and those magazines. You know, she's took all that time to design that pattern. I'm sure she would be heartbroken if somebody was photocopying them and sending them around the world for free. I admit that some of them are a bit, I do not mind paying for a pattern, as I said before. I don't mind paying a magazine, don't mind paying for a book, if it's worth it. But I do object to some of these young designers charging £10, which I don't know, it's about $12, is it $13, for a pattern. And when you get it, it's badly written, you know. And you're thinking, have I just paid all this for that? I mean, again, I don't mind. I've paid for some designers, and when it comes, it's like 32 pages, and it's got, I mean, it's online, don't get me wrong, and it's got pictures from every stage where you're up to, showing you what to do. That is value for money, isn't it? That is, you know, somebody taking the time and the effort. How many hours it must take them to do that? So to me, I think, you know, you're paying them for their time, aren't you? All the time they've took to design and do this and that. But a lot of these youngsters that just jumped on the bandwagon charging $10 for a pattern that your grandma made. She hasn't designed it. We haven't designed it. You know, granny square cardigans, I have designed this. No, you haven't. It's a granny square cardigan that your grandma made, you know. You can look on it. Oops. There we go. Telling me to shut up. Why will it never shut up? As I say, I don't mind paying for a design if it's a design, not something that has been old hat, as old as the hills, and somebody's copied from somebody else. No, that's not. You're not a designer. Sorry, people, but you know. Anyway, I'm going to go now because I've waffled and bored you to death. I'm going. Bye now.